Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. I'm not going to stay on camera for the whole live because we know how much that takes all of my juice for sharing things. But welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. We got an important live tonight. We're going to go over the case of Cory Lambert, and we're also going to be talking about self-defense. And I'm very curious to see how everyone's mind's working tonight with all the information we're going to share, but also just in general. But yeah, so welcome in, everyone. We'll say hi to a few people. I am going to have a few disclaimers as we're doing all of this. But oh, hi Richie, it's good to see you. Number one, first disclaimer, Cory's family and friends, including his mother, are in chat. Please, please, please stay respectful and keep that in mind when you are chatting. Right, Tomboy Charm? But not only is his mom in chat, but a lot of his friends and family and those that cared about him are also in chat. So please be very vigilant of that fact. All right. The next part about this is that this case is a tricky one to cover on YouTube, mostly along the lines because this case has technically gone to court and no charges were presented. And I'll say very boldly, in my opinion, there should have been charges. There's enough information that I have personally seen, that I have shared, that I have been shared. I have been working directly with friends and family, trying to go over all of this information and so on. So there's a lot here. I don't think, I guess the way that I'm trying to say this is we have to be very vigilant of what I'm saying and what you guys are saying in chat because of the legalities of this case. So I'm going to ask, number one, we don't accuse anyone of anything. Number two, we don't use names. I know that there are a lot of you that know Cory, knew Cory, are aware of what happened, are aware of the people involved in this case. And I just please ask that you guys do not state names, state anything as fact, even in the chat. My mods, if one of your comments are deleted or anything, please don't take it offensively. It's literally just to protect not only myself, but the family as they do their ongoing for the future. In what they can and can't do legally and so on. So, okay, I think that was everything I needed to get through. Is there anything else that anyone else can think of? Hi, everyone. Hey, sexy wild thing, McLovin freaking Papa Elvis Claus. It's good to see you. Hi, Shay. Hi, Lucia. Hey, Nora's grandma. Hey, LFT. Hi, Tia. Hi, Aaron. Welcome in, welcome in. It was actually one of you guys that reached out to me originally with Vicky, which is his mother's Facebook group for his case, and asked if there was anything I could do. And I've been looking into it for a few months now. I think I've been working with TNLFT a lot on it. But hi, True Crime Crazy. The way that this is going to work, hi, K-Brace. Hey, Red Eye, is I'm going to go through this. No, you're good, Shay. Family first, always. I'm going to go through the storyline of this. I'm going to give you guys, like you guys know, I like to introduce you guys to who I'm talking about. So you guys are going to get to know Cory a little bit from those who loved him most. So we are going to get to know him from his mom, his aunt, his best friend. Hi, Fissel. And so on. We're going to kind of go through all that. You guys will get to know him as he grows up, the timeline of things, and then into the night that he is killed, the different aspects of that, and then we will get into when is self-defense no longer self-defense, which I'm very anxious to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on. So, all right. We will probably get started then. I'm going to turn off, so bye. I'm going to turn off my camera because otherwise it pulls too much juice. All right. All right. And yes. Ignores grandma. Hey, Braze. Hi, everyone. Hi, Spilled Paint DIY. Oh, that's Avery. Hi, Avery. All right. Let me grab all of my overlays and my notes so that we can make sure that we get everything that we need to put out. Once again, you guys, if you guys do have any comments, questions, at the end of the live, I am going to be bringing up Vicky, Cory's mom, to do a question and answer. Just if anyone did have any other questions that were not answered in the discussion, as well as if I happen to get any of the little details mixed up, she'll come up and do all that. I don't know if Jeff's also going to come up or not, which is Cory's best friend. He might not. But I was talking to them before we went live. So I don't like long intros. This one was a long intro regardless. But let's get into it. So we are going to introduce you guys to Cory. Let me grab my overlays. All right, so you guys, this is Cory Dale Lambert. He was born February 15th, 1983 in Tupelo, Mississippi. Did I say that right? Tupelo? I think that's how I say it. He was an only child, and from the age of 8, it was just him and his mom, Vicky. Just two peas in a pod, which I can really relate with because it's always been me and my mom. So that was something that was really, I think, special. When it's just you and one parent, I think there's something different to that relationship. And it's very special. So this, like I said, guys, this handsome young man is Cory in the photo here. Yes. Yep. And like Tia said, thanks, LFT. Hey, Sherry, it's good to see you. Yes, more one-on-one time, but you also, it's almost like you guys together against the world. And there's a difference to that feeling, I think. At least to me personally. So, hey, Lori. As a kid, Cory was a country boy. He was very easygoing. He loved being outdoors, everything like that. And like Vicky just said in chat, they were very, very close. Which is, I think, too, very special, like I said. Some of the things that Cory liked as he was growing up. He loved to cook. Vicky was telling me that he learned it from his great grandmother and that she would always teach him how to cook. And that kind of sparked his love for cooking. And even up till his death, he loved cooking. He liked to grill things for the boys, which you will learn he does have children. So we'll get into that as the timeline goes on. But that it was something that he continued. So he also, as a child, was a big Dallas Cowboys fan. Yeah. Both of the boys do still talk about him. He also loved Looney Tunes, Roadrunner, Mighty Mouse. Those were just a few of the ones that stuck out to Vicky when I was kind of asking her what he was like as a kid. And there is Nora's grandma. There is definitely. So let's see. Next, we have, as Cory got older, in high school, he started to really like science and history. And then he did end up going to college and got his degree in mechanical engineering. And then he ended up working. So let me see my notes. I don't want to get any of the words wrong because this is a field that I have no knowledge of. So he loved working in fiber. He worked at Tom Bigby. Is that how you say that, Vicky? By the way, that was one thing I forgot to ask. Hi everyone, welcome in, welcome in. Is it Tom Bigby? Is that literally how you say it, or am I just splitting the words up to make it easier? Curious. Okay, sweet. Thank you. Hi Rosalind. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, sweet. And he first started working there. Vicky was telling me that as he first started working there, at the end of the day, he would come home with his own meters and wires and work to figure out whatever the troubleshooting was for that day. And he'd literally come home from work and just work on that until he figured it out, just so he could continue learning it because of how much he enjoyed it. He also, at the time of his death, was a part-time student at Liberty University for Christian Science Studies. So he was a lifetime learner. And if any of you guys know me, you guys know I'm also a lifetime learner. I turned 30 this year. And I just got my MBA in 2020. So, which was my 4th college degree. So the fact that he got his degree in mechanical engineering and then still went to college again is very, very impressive to me. He loved theology. Yes. Overeducated. Thank you. It just depends here because I tend to, I love to learn, but then I don't always put that learning to good use always, I guess. So the next part of this that I'm going to share with you guys is to allow for you guys to once again continue to get to know Cory. And now I'm going to allow you guys to get to know him through the people that actually knew him. So in the Facebook group, which I will have linked in the description box below, yeah, because let me see. I'll have it linked below so you guys can all join it. I've also posted it on a community post prior. But I posted it in there for any of his friends and family to kind of write what they loved about him and their favorite memories with him. And so I'm going to go over a handful of what people have said. And I put in the post when I was asking to let people know that I would be sharing it on the live. So I'm going to read through some of these. I did blank out last names. So just so you guys know. So the first one I see here is from Mitch. He says, I knew Cory many years, had him on my bass boat fishing with me. Cory was a good one. I was always Uncle Mitch. I love that. So that was the first one that was on there. And if any of you are in chat and I'm going to read what you guys are saying, I love that. So please feel free to, if you guys are in here and I didn't get a chance to get your message, feel free to write it in chat and I can bring it up on the screen now as well. So let me grab the next one. It's a lot of just clicking around, by the way, if it takes me a second to bring things up. I think that's the next one. Here we go. All right, so this is from Tassie. She was, I believe, his cousin based on the post. Now, I will say one thing that I have recognized while learning about Cory and Cory's case is that there are a lot of people who are not biologically related to him that cared about him like he was family. So I'll just say that. And there's not a lot of people out there that literally almost everyone that I've talked to about him has said how much he was caring and loving and so easily fit into their family, regardless of if it was biological or not. So This is Tassie. She says, I've known my cousin Cory Dale my whole life. He would have given you the shirt off his back without hesitation. If you need anything, Cory was there. If you needed a shoulder to lean on, Cory was there. If you needed someone to talk to, Cory was there. I miss and love you, cuz. So as you guys can see, this is a loss that... is anyone else having trouble hearing? Just curious. Okay. Thanks, Aaron. All right. Also, yes, guys, please don't forget to hit the like. Okay. Don't forget to hit the like so that the story can reach more people and so on. So, all right. Next one. Hang on. I'm going to close out of this one. Okay, sweet. Thank you. All right. Let's bring up a next one. There's not a ton of these, but yes, I'm going to share my screen once again. Give you guys this one. So this is from his Aunt Sherry, which Sherry is in chat. Hi, Sherry. I know we've had a handful of conversations. Hi. And she said, I'm Cory's Aunt Sherry. Him and my son were only months apart. I've never needed Cory, and he was not there. Cory and my son definitely put many gray hairs on their nanny Lambert's head. She babysat the two while we worked. I love that. Oh. Hang on, let me put some of your guys' up here too while I'm reading all these. To go to another section though when I do this. All right. So this is Jeff. Jeff was Cory's best friend. Said, my brother from another mother. Justice for Cory Lambert. Absolutely. You're good, LFT. Matt's also in here. Welcome in, Matt. He said, I worked with Cory. He was someone I could confide in and one of the funniest, most loyal friends I've ever had. Oh, I love that. Let's see. I'm just going through chat with the rest of you guys. Vicky says, Cory had all the hair. Chris, Sherry had teeth and no hair. I love that. Nora's grandma, Vicky, is Cory's mother. Yep. Vicky is Cory's mom. Vicky Lambert in chat, guys, is Cory's mom. And you guys, like I said, there are a handful of other family members. Sherry Moore is his aunt. Jeffrey Barnes is his best friend. There is a handful of family and friends that are in chat. So please be very vigilant of that while you are typing. All right, so let's grab this one. Yes, and thank you everyone for being here. Is this the right one? Yes, Avery, and we will get to that. But I want to make sure that you guys have the chance to get to know Cory, because although it is important to get the story of his death out there, I think it is also important that you guys know who he was as a person. So, because he was a person, and as you guys can see kind of by what I'm reading and the people in chat, he was loved by many, many, many people. So, so this is Carla. She said, I first met Cory Dale when I was 16 years old. We became friends and began to hang out when I was 19. The best times were when we would ride the back roads, go mud riding, just sit around at a friend's house, all of us talking and laughing. We had lost contact after 2012, but started messaging and talking on Facebook in 2022. He was my rock when I needed someone to talk to about my impending divorce. To know Cory Dale was to love Cory Dale. And like I said, this is kind of a correct, Shay. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Cory is more than what happened to him. And that's something that I think is very important when talking about cases in general, is to remember that these are all people, real people are affected by these cases. And it's not just a sensationalized story. Sherry said, LOL, they loved their BB guns, playing in the mud, riding bikes. And yes, Vicky was right about the no hair and teeth. Yeah, it is, Lori. And it only gets worse. So we'll continue to go on. Once again, everyone that wrote to tell me about their memories and everything with Cory, I appreciate it. Like, I feel like I've gotten to get to know him not only through Vicky, but through everyone else. And I do wish he sounded like an incredible person. So let me see. I think we have 2 left. He was brutally honest. He was taught that the truth will set you free. Well, we have that in common. Now. All right, let me see. This one here. So this is by Casey, which Jeff, Casey's your wife, is that correct? Oh, well, I could just read through it and it would tell me. I first met Cory in 2005 through my husband, Jeff. He was the one true friend that stuck by Jeff through some of the hardest and darkest times in his life. He was also the best man in our wedding. I have so many memories that include Cory, but some of the best were when me, Jeff, and Cory would ride back roads in his Tahoe and all the countless late nights sitting around the bonfire, just discussing life and goofing off. Yes. Yep. Go Bulldogs. This happened in Mississippi. Yep. Loved his boys more than life itself. Absolutely. Never met a stranger. Yep. That's kind of what I've been getting as I've talked to people about him. And then I think the last one here that I have as a screenshot from that is from Vicky herself. Hi, T. Welcome in. Thanks for coming. Let's see. So this one's from Vicky. This is Cory's mom. I love this story. I've reread this comment a lot of times. Hi, MK. Hi, Glowbug. Welcome in. So this was from Cory's mom, Vicky, who's in chat once again. One of the best moments that sheds light on Cory Lambert's true nature was when he and I were delivering Thanksgiving meals to some of the individuals who had nowhere to go. We just wanted to tell them we cared. In 2011, it was cold and had snowed. One particular man and his wife, we went to their home. He came to the door in full clothes and a thick coat, and his wife was dressed the same. And they sat around a 110 unit small plug-in electric heater trying to stay warm. He said something had happened and their electric heat had gone out. We came back to our house. Cory got what supplies he needed or may use and went back to their house. He found the wiring problem and fixed it for them so they could have heat. From that day on, he and Mr. Doug were fast, solid friends. Cory was a giver, not a taker. So I think that also, hi Seal, goes to show not only who Cory was, but who he was brought up to be, and that you raised a very, very incredible person, Vicky, to you. Trying not to get emotional while I do this. I'm telling you, it's a lot harder to tell a story and not get emotional when you know people. So now we are going to get on to the storyline of, oh, thank you so much, Glowbug. Thank you for becoming a member. The memberships here, all of the money from memberships will go towards YouTube expenses, and then any additional we will donate as a channel, whatever's left over. So, oh, thank you, Eddie. It's good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. All right, so now let's get into the harder part of this situation. Now, I'm going to be getting in, like I'd said at the very beginning, if you do know Cory and you do know this story and the people involved, I ask that you please leave names out of chat. Once I get to the end of this, you will kind of understand why I'm asking that. But I'm going to be referring to everyone with like their title, not their name. Also, if you know any of the children involved, please don't put their names in chat as well. And let's get into this. So, see which one we're at. All right, here we go. So, Cory got married in December 2012. Once again, I'm not going to get into the names of individuals. You guys will see why as we continue going. But he got married in December 2012. His new wife had 2 children from a previous relationship. And when they got married, the oldest child was 2.5 years old, and the younger child was 6 months old. 6 months old when they got married. So this is Cory marrying her, and she already has these 2 young boys. Cory loved it. He loved being a dad. He raised them as his own. One thing that was kind of drilled into me in the best way possible is the fact that it did not matter to him that these boys were not biologically his children. He was going to be their father and their father figure in this life, whether they liked it or not. That is the type of man that he was. He cared, and he wanted to and was willing to be the father for them. Hi, Diane. Welcome in. Yeah, he did have a really big heart. So, I mean, it was to the point where the child that was 6 months old when they got married called him daddy, still does till this day. So it was something that he really enjoyed. And then it was in 2013. Let me just check. I gotta make sure that I'm not. Oh, you're good. I want to make sure that you guys didn't message me anything. All right. In 2013 is when Cory and his wife ended up having a child together. They had a son together in 2013. And from everything that I have learned, being a dad was something that he was the most proud of. Yeah. And it was something that it was his favorite thing. He loved being a father. And like I said, it was not just to the son that was biologically his. It was to all 3 of the boys that are now his family with his wife. So yes. Then we get to the unfortunate timeline here. In July of 2021, he is separated from his wife. Now, the storyline of how, when, why differs depending on who's telling the story, which is something that we learn throughout this entire case is something that occurs depending on what side of the, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Whatever side of this that's talking is telling, you're going to get a different story. But yeah, so during this time, he separated from his wife July 2021. He filed for divorce October of 2021. I believe both of them filed for divorce at similar times. But I was able to read his divorce filing. So it did get pretty messy to a certain extent. It was not an easy thing. Jointly filed. Okay. Thank you, Vicky. Different times. Yes. Okay. But because there was a lot of fighting when it came to money, but there was also a lot of fighting when it came to custody. So one thing that Cory was very vocal about was, like I've told you guys, he loved the older 2 boys like they were his own biological children. Unfortunately, his wife at the time did not see that. And so although he wanted to have joint custody for all 3 boys, in the end, he only ended up getting joint custody with the youngest son, the one that is biologically his and hers together. But then if you guys did see up in the comments, let me grab it, that Vicky wrote, she said his attorney for divorce, as he got joint custody, he did not have to pay any child support, but because he felt so strongly for the other 2 children, which are the 2 older boys, he volunteered to pay just because although she wasn't going to allow him to have joint custody of them, he wanted to make sure and to help in any way that he could. So, hey, welcome in, Sleuth Mom. Hey, in the bushes. That was just the type of man that he was, is although he did not get custody of the two boys that he helped raise that call him dad, he still was willing to say, well, I know I don't have to pay, but I'm willing to pay you. So, oh, Glowbug, thank you so much. That's so kind. Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome. Thank you guys so much. If you guys got a membership, welcome. Like I told you guys, memberships, the money for memberships goes towards the YouTube, like StreamYard, Canva, stuff like that. And then any additional, we donate to a cause that we choose together. So, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you. All right. So, where this speaks volume. Yes. Correct, Casey. I would have to agree with you. And one thing that I've learned, not even just from Cory's case, but when I've been researching cases in general, is parent alienation is a thing. And even if you and your significant other are getting divorced and can't talk, can't stand each other, your kid should come first, and what's best for your kid should come first. And that's just an in general statement that's not towards anyone specific, but if the shoe fits, the shoe fits. But your children and their what's best for them is what should be coming first, not petty bullshit between people. So that was just my 2 cents on that aspect of things. So let's see, where were we? Oh, okay. All right. So we then find out, I'm going to go back to my overlays. This is how I lay out my timeline. So the divorce was finalized about a year later, October 31st, 2022. Now, once we get to the story of how Cory was killed, you guys will find out that this actually occurs only a day, 2 days after the divorce is finalized. So when we get into the timeline of the events of what happened on the night that he was killed, it begins on November 1st and it goes into November 2nd. I had to clarify this with Vicky, so some of my slides may have one date over another. But yeah. Hang on. Lori asks, was his ex-wife's father of her 2 oldest in their lives? We'll get to that. Technically, yes. So we will get to that. So, okay. All right. So divorce finalized October 31st, 2022. So before we get to the night of Cory's death, I'm going to give you guys a few things that kind of raised some red flags leading up to his death and between the time of the separation to the finalization of the divorce. So these are things that I have to be very vague when I speak of them. I have to, hey, Abby, welcome in. Vicky says the oldest has somewhat of a relationship with their biological father. The middle does not. He called my son daddy, and my son considered him his firstborn. Yeah. Is that what you were asking, Lori? If the father of the first kids were in their life? Or were you asking me if his ex-wife's father was in their life? Either way. Vicky answered it if you meant the first one. I answered it if you meant the second one. So, All right. So like I said, you guys may have some questions regarding these incidents that I'm going to go over with you guys, because to be honest, I have questions. Vicky has questions. Jeff has questions. There's a lot of questions and things that are still up in the air in the time leading up to this case, as well as the night that this occurs. So the first one we're going to get into is April 2022. Hey, grateful middle-aged cat mama. So, April 2022, I believe Cory, was he going to or from work, Vicky? Do you happen to remember that aspect? I mean, I'm sure you do. I don't remember if it was to or from work. Regardless, he was driving, and there was a car that was driving behind him that was flashing its hazard lights at him. So he kind of like was going to let him pass, and then they end up somehow both getting to a gas station. He was off of work going to meet a friend for dinner. Okay, thank you. Let me see. Yes. Yep, and Lori, we will also get into that, but yes, Vicky actually miraculously, which I was talking to her about this before the live had started, was able to get all of Cory's rights as a father transferred to her. So Vicky now has all of Cory's rights that he had as a father for custody. So she now gets, by law, the youngest biological son for the 50% custody, or however, whatever the custody was that Cory had before he passed. But also now the middle son also will, a lot of the time, majority if not all of the time, also come with and spend time with Vicky as well, which is something that I told her is not something you hear very often, because technically she's their grandma, but like, no, you're okay, Lori, of course. But it's something that I think is a very, very good thing that's come out of this. But either way, so they drive, they end up at the gas station. And Cory is attacked. So he is attacked with a baseball bat to the back of the head. I have seen images. I obviously can't show them to you guys because they are too graphic for YouTube. But he was hit, knocked unconscious. Eventually, I think it was 45 minutes that he was unconscious or didn't really realize what was going on. Pulled over, started cussing at him. Yes. Her son did not know the individuals. So either way, no, Nora's grandma, it's not. And that's what we're kind of trying to get the word out there so that it could be. Stood out to allow him to try and figure out what they had done wrong. Yes. So Cory obviously was just like, hey, I don't know who this person is, but they're now following me here. Like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. He was, hang on, unconscious for 5 minutes. Okay. Yep. But then it took him a little bit longer. He ended up calling you, Vicky, and he couldn't figure out where he was for a little bit of time. They eventually did end up finding him, and he went to the emergency room where he was diagnosed with a concussion and a fractured cervical disc, as well as having to get, I think it was 11 staples in his head. He had to get staples in his head as well. And it was a very decent amount of staples, which would then go to show you guys kind of how significant the attack was. He was in the hospital overnight for, he was overnight for observation, and then he was actually out of work for 4 to 5 weeks while the fractured cervical disc and the neurology department kind of kept an eye on him. So this was a significant thing that happened in April 2022. The next situation is a situation that I'm going to be talking in 11 staples, concussion, fractured cervical disc, admitted overnight. Okay, sweet. Did that by memory. The next one I'm talking hypothetically. One thing that I will tell you guys is that Cory did fight his own demons. I don't think it's important for us to get into necessarily what those demons were. But he had gone to a faith-based rehab and gone through everything, graduated from that, and was very successful in that and was very passionate about that. So when he ends up peeing dirty at a drug test at work, no one could really understand how that happened. He hadn't gone anywhere other than dropping off his kids at their mom's and then going to work. So that was a situation that there's lots of questions surrounding. We don't have any idea of what could have happened. You guys can come to your own conclusions of what could have happened. But other than that, that's as much as I'm going to go into that. He ended up losing his job because someone anonymously called in a surprise drug test, and he ended up losing his job because of this. So that was, let me see when that was. I have it written down. That would have been July to August of 2022. So then we have the weeks leading up to Cory's death. His car had started acting up, and then it was the day before his murder, or the day technically of his murder. They ended up towing it, which is going to kind of get us into the timeline of events, which is going to bring us into Cory's death. So I am going to be throwing up a trigger warning. Also, those of you that are friends and family in chat, I want you guys to know that I'm going to be doing this hopefully as respectfully as I can, but that I will be talking about his injuries the night leading up to this. I will be reading through parts of the autopsy report. We will be going over the wound diagram of all of the shots to him. And yeah, so I just want to give you guys that warning now. So if it's something that you're not going to be able to listen to, just trigger warning. Okay. I will, before I bring any like diagrams or anything up, I will also let you guys know. So this is one of the ones where I had the dates a little wrong just because I was a little bit confused. So this is actually happening not on the 31st, but the 1st of November. The 31st is the date that his is the date that his divorce is finalized. So just keep that in your mind as everything's kind of going on. But now we are going to get into November 1st. So we don't know exactly what happens, but he ends up getting home around 10 to 11 a.m. that day. Supposedly it is his ex-wife that drops him off at home, but I have nothing to for sure say that that's what happened. That's kind of just what's been told. So, and then it is at 2:30 p.m. that Vicky, his mom, who's in chat, once again, I'm just reiterating that because I do not want anyone to hurt this woman. She needs to be protected at all costs. So I'm making sure that I say that every time. Vicky is in chat. So Vicky ends up going to Cory, helping him clean out his car because they were going to have it towed due to the potential of this baby oil like substance being put into his gas tank. We do find out that there was a baby oil type substance in his gas tank, which was causing his truck not to run, which they end up having towed. So that all happens on November 1st, 2022. After that, they end up having dinner. He stays at Vicky's. They have dinner together. He works on deer plots for the next season that he would do with the boys. And then at approximately 7:30 p.m., Vicky brings him home to his home, and that is the last time she sees her son. So we find out later on that at, yeah, okay, let me grab that one. I'm gonna leave your guys' comments up here too. So Vicky says at the time he thought it was just the fuel pump that had quit. He nor I ever imagined anything else happening. With the prior year, we just slipped up and didn't think. Well, and I think too, Vicky, to your defense as well, is like, you don't ever think that people are actually going to do things. Like, even till this day with everything, it's not until everything that's happened that you can look at back and be like, oh my gosh, why didn't we think this? Whereas beforehand, you don't realize that people can do things so horrendous until after they happen. So, hi, Smokey P. It's good to see you. Thank you. Yes, hindsight is 2020. Absolutely, Shay. Absolutely. All right. So we find out after the fact that at 8:45 p.m. on November 1st, 2022, his ex-wife actually picks him up, and they arrive back at her home at 9:07 p.m. We know that this time frame is 9:07 p.m. because it is on camera. So that is one thing that has kind of been somewhat of a saving grace throughout this whole thing, is that when Cory and his ex-wife were married, he installed cameras on her property. And so there are multiple cameras. I don't remember the exact amount. Vicky, do you remember the exact amount that he had installed on her property for her? I don't remember. Well, right, Sherry. Exactly. Good people just don't have the mindset that people can and will do evil things. Exactly. All right. But regardless, we have, oh, here we go. Jeff. Oh, thanks, Jeff. I forgot. 8 total on the 2 houses. So one thing about this is that his ex-wife, her home/trailer was on her parents' property, and their home was also on the property, but it was what, like 150 yards apart, something along those lines. So between the 2 houses, he had put a total of 8 security cameras up for them. So that is how we know that he arrives with her at 9:07 p.m. to her residence. Okay. I am going to kind of, it's hard. I'm going to go through this timeline with you guys, but I'm going to skip to Vicky's timeline, and then I will go back to give you guys more details. So that'll make sense in a second. So the next part of this is going to be the phone call that no parent should ever receive. I am going to bring up Vicky's exact words on this because I want to make sure that you guys can see it in her wording. That at 1:18 a.m. on November 2nd, 2022, Vicky received a phone call from the assistant coroner. And I'll read to you guys now what was said to her on this phone call. So let me grab it. All right. Oh, one thing I will also state is that when Vicky was with Cory that day on the 1st, there were a handful of times that his ex-wife was texting him and different things like that. So there's a lot to the story. Like I said, that number one, I'm not going to go into just to protect the case itself, to protect Vicky and everything along those lines. But also just because a lot of it, there isn't all of the information there. So here we go. Let's read this. So she says, I received a call at 1:18 a.m. by David Horn, the assistant coroner. And I will never forget his exact words. So imagine this, you guys. You are awakened by a call at 1:18 a.m. And it says, Miss Lambert, I hate to have to call and tell you this, but your son, Cory Lambert, is dead. And she says, in shock, I got up and asked where I would be right there. And the assistant coroner says, there's no need in that. We've been working the scene for 3.5 hours. I'm about to put him in a body bag, and he's going to the morgue. I had to borrow an officer's phone to call you, but I'm sure they will be in touch with you sometime later today. She then says, I asked him where he was, and he said Marietta, Mississippi, which told me instantly that where it had occurred, which was at his ex-wife's location. She said, I called the number back, and it wound up the phone that he had borrowed to give Vicky this news was the sheriff, Randy Toller, his phone, who also lives in this small community and is a family friend, supposedly, in our opinion, no proven fact, friends of his ex-wife and his ex-wife's parents. But we don't know that for sure. That's a legend. Yes. Well, and the question here too, guys, is why is a professional not having their own phone, number one? But number two, why would you not call? Why did they wait 3.5 hours to call? And why did they say, yes, exactly, Avery, exactly. Yes, they didn't tell her in person, which if you guys learn more about this town and this area, Vicky is known to a lot of people due to her business. And it's not like these people did not have the ability to find her. So, yes, the way that it was stated, how it was stated, how it was relayed to her, how this phone call happened is all horrific. So that is, I think, an important part of this because it kind of obviously is the moment. Yeah. And like Vicky just said, yes, he literally said putting him in a body bag and going to the morgue to the mother of this person. I don't swear here, but if I swore, I'd be saying some words. Yeah, exactly. All right. So that is how Vicky finds out that her only son, who it has been just her and him since he was 8 years old. Yeah, exactly. She found out that he is no longer with us. So now we are going to kind of go back to what we end up finding out after the fact is this series of events that occurred. So I'm going to kind of give an overview of this, and then I will be going over some of the documents that I have received, like the official documents of things, different statement of events from different people, and so on. But I'm trying to find a good way to say this. A lot of the storylines of what happened this night do not add up. A lot of the accounts do not add up, and that's going to go from the people who were present at this event. Event's a terrible word for it, but you know what I mean. As well as the individuals who worked the scene after the fact is all I'm going to say, because like I said, have to be very aware of what I'm saying. Yeah. Like Vicky just said, to this day, no officer/official has come to my door, come to my business, has in any way made any attempt to approach me regarding this catastrophic situation. The sheriff did text me. I failed to say it earlier. The sheriff texted Vicky and said, my condolences for your loss. So let that sink in. All right, so we know that Cory shows up after his ex-wife picks him up at 9:07 p.m. Okay. What's happening during this time differs depending on who you ask. According to some people, I'm not going to state who, Cory was going crazy and beating certain people up and doing all these different things. Now, as I mentioned before, there's cameras. So, yes. Yeah. Right, LFT, exactly. Let me take this off just so I can do your guys's comments as well while I'm continuing to tell this. There's cameras. So on this footage, which I have seen personally, I'm not going to share any of it with you guys just in case I don't want to ruin any potential for future anything. And that's kind of the gist of it. But I will be kind of explaining the different things that I've seen. So he shows up here. We don't know why. We don't know how. We don't know what the intentions were of him getting picked up by her and going over to her home. At the residence, we find out it is her, him, and a minor. Not going to state who that is. No one needs to know anything about a minor. So, regardless, on the different videos, there is video of them fighting. And when I say fighting, I mean, like, you could tell that there was tension, but it wasn't anything physical that you could see, at least on his side and supposedly her side, whatever. But regardless, yes, Matt, exactly. The one constant in all of this is the inconsistencies. Absolutely. So there's lots of different videos. So we see videos, the minor comes in the videos, Cory's in the videos, the ex-wife is in the videos. But nothing really happens until the first 911 call. So there's 2 911 calls this night. The first 911 call occurs at 10:23. So remember, he got there around 9:07, I said. Is when the police ended up getting there. The police ended up getting there. Yeah. Jerry, I will. Hang on, let me say. Vicky says, I've only surmised that due to her work schedule in boys' school, he went to help get them on the bus at the times allegedly her work day started at 4 a.m. Okay. So there's that. Jerry says, did law enforcement produce any photos of injuries caused by Cory? Yeah, beating these people up. Based on their stories, they claim that they had injuries. Based on body cam and witnesses that saw the individuals after this day, the answer is no. There was no injuries. So, let's see. So we get to the first 911 call, where apparently it has to do with someone's calling at this point. His ex-in-laws are on the premises. So it is his ex-wife, his ex-wife's parents, the minor, and Cory. Someone is calling 911 stating that Cory is beating everyone up. He's not welcome here. He's not supposed to be here, and along those lines. So police show up, and Cory's nowhere to be found. Supposedly, they say he ran off into the woods, and we have no idea where he went. He must have ran off when he knew we called 911. That's the storyline. So the police look back and forth. And I'll say that this is quite a bit of land. So the area, I did also get a video from Vicky of this area where the trees are very sparse. So it's not something where he could go hide behind a tree and the police wouldn't be able to see him. So no photos were taken until they were directed by PCSO to the local ER. No photos of anything other than the body cam footage were taken at the first 911 call. Correct. Which we are still trying to get the body cam footage, which apparently some officers forgot to turn their body cams on. Other ones, they lost the footage. Other ones don't wear body cams. Who knows? But that's something that we are still actively trying to receive. But do you know what your population is, Vicky? Right, Sherry, exactly. I'm calling 911 for someone who's not supposed to be here that I went and picked up. That I went and picked up and brought here. Right, exactly. Prentiss County in Mississippi has a population of approximately 5,000. Where's Grandma? So, and I will say this is a case where pretty much everyone knows everyone. So, yeah. And then Vicky also says Marietta County, which is the community where this happened, the night in question occurred, is only 200 people. So, kind of goes to show this is northern Mississippi. Just let everyone aware, because I don't know if I actually said that to begin with. So anyways, the police do a semi-search. They claim to have searched for like 45 minutes, but then that was very quickly squashed because then a different time frame was told to the media. Yeah, and then called police, Avery, and said, I don't know if it was her that called police or if it was someone in the family, someone at the home, something like that. But someone called and said he's not supposed to be here and he's beating everyone up. Hi, Hannah B. Welcome in. Prentiss County has a population of 24,000. Okay. Matt says, I called BS when they said he ran into the woods. Anyone who knew him knew he wouldn't run and hide. Right. Oh, you're good. No problem. No. This has not been anywhere, Avery, other than their local news. So anyways, we're going to kind of get back to the story here. So we start seeing different footage on the surveillance of all of these. Right. Yeah, and this is kind of a point that I think a lot of the people who loved and cared about Cory, it's a very important part to this. So, yeah. Like Vicky said, she's trying, and we've tried sharing it. I've shared it. I've tried to push it out on Twitter. We have seen a little traction. But right now, once we get to the end part of this, you'll kind of see the tough situation that we're in currently. So, all right. So we're going to say, so now as the night goes on, the police end up leaving. They are back at the station by, I think it's like 10:55 p.m. At this point in time in our timeline, they've called police saying that he's beating them up. We also know that there were people that saw both his ex-wife and her family members the next day and the days following and didn't have a scratch on them. That is from their testimony. I'm just saying that as literally verbatim of what witnesses who saw them in the days after said, as well as you can hear it somewhat on the body cam. And let's see. Thanks, Avery. That'd be great. And you can message me, Avery, and I can get you in touch with Vicky too. Her email will be at the end of the video as well. So, and then we get to the second 911 call. Okay. Well, Here's some more info. Cory was 225 pounds at the time of his death. He climbed poles, pulled heavy cables on his job. He was not a pushover. He also had a size 13 ring finger. Impressive. So that kind of just goes to show you guys the way that I think of it is like he was a giant teddy bear. It's kind of like the gist of everything that I've been able to learn about him. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rainbow Mom. I appreciate that. And once again, guys, another way is once we do finish this live, if you guys go and share this live out wherever you can, to get his story out there, that'll help immensely as well. And like I said, I will be putting Vicky's email at the end of the live, so you guys have the ability to reach out. Sometime in the next, they leave at 10:55 from the first 911 call. According to the autopsy, Cory is killed at 11:07 p.m. There is a second 911 call that is called, and it is just the individuals who are present saying he was attacking us and we had to kill him in self-defense. I shot him. He's dead on the ground. Once again, still trying to get 911 calls and everything like that. Hey, Meta Mom. But that is kind of the gist of that 911 call. And like I said, we will be going through a handful of documents here with a little bit more information, a little bit more specific information. Like I said, I'm kind of just doing the overview of that. And so the police show up. They call the coroner, and Cory is deceased. He has been shot. 3 times, right? 3 or 4 to the front of his body, 7 times to the back, which is the aspect of this case that raises the most red flags. We will be going over his wound diagram. Hey, Fur Coat Mama, welcome in. Thank you for coming. It means a lot to me. Yes. So Vicky says, also note that when they asked on the 911 call if he had, the individual who called and had shot him, checked to see if he was breathing / alive. He stated, I haven't touched him and I'm not going to touch him. So, there's a lot to it, like I said. And I will also say that this was, although far away and although a little blurry, this is caught on camera. On the camera, you can, once you have read everything and seen the videos, to my understanding of things, is something was happening between him and his ex-wife. It didn't look to be a physical thing. It looked more of just like, leading up to this point, there's video of her taking things out of his backpack that he's wearing and throwing it, and then him going and looking, and she had his phone, and he's just like sitting on the porch, like he's looking like he's ready to go home, like he's trying to figure it out. But you guys remember, she picked him up and brought him there, so he does not have a ride home at this point. And so there's lots of just back and forth of running in the house, running out of the house, running around the trailer to well, Avery, and we'll get to that because there was actually a grand jury. It's a matter of what was potentially not shown at the grand jury that's playing an issue. But we will get into that. So something along the lines adds up to he's having some type of issue with his ex-wife. And in this time frame, he turns around to talk to someone else, and that person, he takes, I think, 2 steps towards them, and the person opens fire and shoots him. Cory turns and is shot in the side and then falls forward, where he actually does end up breaking his nose visibly. Vicky had shared some of the autopsy photos, so I have seen it myself. It is visibly to the side. And then he is shot another 7 times as he's laying face down on the ground. Yeah. So, yes. Yep. Pepper, the person who fired the weapon, admitted to it. Said, I did it, but he was coming at me. But only the first few shots were to his front. The rest were to his back. So I'm going to get into a handful of these documents that we have. K-Braze, yes, but it's dark out and it's not like a professional camera. So you can see things. So like in the video, which I have seen the video, and you see the gun firing. Like you can see the lighting up of the end of the gun as the gun is being shot. Vicky says Cory takes 2 steps unarmed the entire time, which is also a point of this, is he was never armed. And another aspect of this is he had no GSW on his hands, which we also hear in some of the individuals who are their story, that we were so scared because he had this firearm fall out of his pocket, or this firearm fall out of this, or he had this one and this one. But the thing is, he did not have any GSW, and there are no shots coming from him. So that's also an important part. She says, unarmed the entire time, begins a slow right turn, clutching his chest, beginning to bend at the waist, staggering away from the individual firing the weapon, who then follows Cory to continue to shoot him another 7 times in the back. On the round, going after him. Yeah. As he's trying to get away. Yeah. I'd say it's an interesting mindset, Pepper. One that I would have to be inclined to agree with, but that's only in my opinion. Nothing is fact. So, let me grab some of these. Which one should we read first? I'm going to show you guys a handful of documents. I have what pages of these, because there's a lot. There's probably 800 pages maybe of everything. Yes. Yes, Nora's grandma. See, I think based on the autopsy, he was officially declared dead at like 11:49 via the coroner, because the coroner has to be the one to do it. So, okay, let me grab these. Share screen. All right. So this is the first one I have here. This is my 21 pages, so pages 5 and 6. So this here is a statement of facts. So everything that is redacted from these, which is just where there's no writing, was done by the Prentiss County. Okay. 4 minutes. Okay. Hi, Carla. Welcome in. Thank you, Jeff. All right. This is just something that kind of goes on to one of the aspects that I had said earlier of this person. Thank you. This person said that they talked to not only her, but others, family members, saying that they saw his ex-wife in the days following, and no one had any marks on them. Something doesn't sound right. No one had a scratch on them. Yes, Pepper. But for legal reasons, we're trying to not necessarily state names or anything. Sherry did answer your question down below, but without a name. So yes. All right. So then we're going to go down to the next one. So this one here. Do you know which one this was? I'm trying to think of. I talked to Cory on 11/1/2022 between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. He was putting corn out in a game camera. He was telling me he was getting ready to carry take his sons hunting the next weekend. He also sent me a pic of the dog that had followed him into the woods. We talked about the dog. He was telling me something had cut the dog's head up. Reason for the pic: he seemed like his normal self. He did not seem impaired anyway to me. So this is going towards Cory's state of mind on that day in question. Okay. And then if you guys see me scroll through things, it's not necessarily that I'm hiding anything or anything. I'm just, a lot of these pages repeat, but also, okay. Yeah. So Vicky says, this was his friend he talked to well with me. Basically, the statement to further prove Cory was in a good frame of mind, had no intention or concerns of having issues that night. Correct. The lead up to the situation. And then I also have written down page 12. So let me scroll. We're not going to go through photos. Oh, this here, it says printed pictures obtained from post-autopsy of both hands, right hand dominant, as well as something which indicate no bruising to either hand at knuckles, no lacerations or cuts that would indicate that he beat anyone up or that one would expect to find if punched out windows / glass panels. Color prints attached. So, that's one thing too, is they claimed that he potentially broke a window to get at them and had shattered glass. And they're kind of just stating, based on what I saw, that's not the case. So, let me grab the next one. All right. Share this tab instead. All right. It's this one. So this one here is a, let's see. I'm just going to kind of read through some of these. I've read through literally everything, but on my notes, I just have the pages I wanted to make sure I go over. So I'm kind of going through it with you guys while also going through, if that makes sense. Let's see. So it says all evidence was collected by investigators. The coroner, David Horn, took possession of the body. Blank and blank was advised to go to ER, make sure everyone was okay, due to the fact that they all had injuries from the altercation. Officers cleared the scene and blank was transported to Prentiss County Jail. So the individual who did the shooting was actually brought to jail, but it was not immediate. Blank clothing was collected once at the jail by investigator Chisholm. Blank was given clothing to then put on. The deputy Chisholm observed Blank's body and did not view any injuries. Okay. This is an important note. Correct. Right, Vicky? Vicky wants to note, please note, David Horn is not the coroner. Investigators completely do not know / address individuals from that night with their appropriate titles. He is not the official coroner. So that's an important aspect of this as well. It then goes on to say, also an Apple Watch was collected from the left wrist of blank. Jumper then went and took pictures of blank and blank. So on 11/2/2022, statements were taken. So we're now hearing one of the individuals, no injuries, substantiating the claims that were alleged. Exactly. Let's see. So it says blank stated that he had a camera system at his house that everything should be saved to. He advised the password of the system was blank. A search warrant was written for blank residence, along with another search warrant for the system upon entry of the home. This was due to the concern that once the system was unplugged, all data could be possibly lost. The video of the shots being fired were recorded prior to unplugging the system from power. It says here, it is believed that the Hikvision system, HIK, recovered from residents contains information about the crime of first-degree murder. Based on the information above, a search warrant is requested to search forensically the camera system collected, which is believed to belong to blank and persons unknown. System contains footage of leading up to when shots were fired. Also, blank states that blank had spent the night prior with her at her residence. She took blank home, then went back and picked him up a second time and brought blank, which is Cory, back to her residence. It is believed all this footage is considered evidence to leading up to the crime. All right, so these are this. We have the affidavit. I'm just going to kind of skim over this. Hey, daycare mama, welcome in. Vicky says the individuals present were given open times to present for statements. They arrived approximately 14 hours or more after the murder, and no initial statements were documented other than the body cams. So there's that too. All right. So we have, this is the affidavit for a search warrant. State of Mississippi, County of Prentiss County. This day personally appears that this is by the investigator, Tory Jumper, known to be a credible person who has been first duly sworn. Have good reason to believe and do believe that certain things hereafter described are now being concealed and or about the following. So this is about the search warrant for the recordings. Let's see what else. It also states that things are particularly described as follows: data, telephone numbers, contacts, pictures, videos, notes, multimedia messages, emails, and text messages from the hard drive, SIM cards and or media cards attached to the phone, as well as third-party applications used to store said items and or communicate said items. Once again, it goes into the part of this that I think is important. We'll continue going. It keeps going into the different things here. Let's see. Return. I received this warrant. Signage. Okay, here we go. So this is the forensic processing chain of custody forms. Okay, what are you guys saying? The individuals, oh, I read that. Okay, Jeff says, so leave the system at scene and leave it unsecured overnight and the next day. Right. Right. And I think Tomboy Charm, that's why they were able to get the exact time at 11:07. Potentially. I'm not sure. All right. So let's continue through this. It goes over the number there. The evidence, and I think that's it. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is going to start to go over the pathological diagnosis of Cory. So there are 11 gunshot wounds, 9 perforating gunshot wounds of the trunk with injuries of both lungs, the heart, the left kidney, the spleen, and the stomach, and multiple rib fractures. Once again, guys, trigger warning, if you are friends or family, we're going to be going through this. I'm going to try to keep it as not detailed as possible. Does that make sense? But I'm just going to read through this first page here. So, penetrating gunshot wounds of the left arm, recovery medium caliber, apparently copper gilded projectile from the subcutaneous tissue of the left forearm, perforating gunshot wound of the right index finger. Cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds, manner of death, homicide. Oh, that's true. Hang on. Vicky said, I've been told this, but I went to AT&T, and even with his death certificate and driver's license, I wonder if you could reach out potentially straight to, oh, it's an Apple Watch, I was going to say, because I have a Fitbit. Just find an Apple Watch and I can answer calls on my wrist, I would never get anything done. But my Fitbit, you could potentially go to Fitbit, but not the Apple Watch. So if anyone has any history with trying to figure that type of stuff out from getting information from Apple, please reach out to either me or Vicky, because that could be a great help. Vicky, I wonder though if you have the ability, because I know you have his phone, if we could, once you get into his phone, looking at the app, if that's a potential as well. I'm just saying that out loud so I don't forget to say that to you. So, let me see the next one here. Okay. So, So I'm share this tab instead. All right. So I'm going to get into a handful of Apple customer service. Yeah, maybe. A lot of the big consumers, though, need a police warrant, which is, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, good, Vicky. Let me know. Yeah, I don't really know them. The type. Do you guys happen? I know you guys know. Vicky or Jeff, can you guys just put like the type of firearm in chat? Okay. I'm going to read through some of these underlying facts. This was written by the Prentiss County Sheriff's Department investigator, Tori Jumper. And it's going to it goes over her history here. And then it's going to get into her statement of facts and such of what's happening this night. Now I'm going to do the best that I can with all of the redacted information. So, oh, okay. Thank you. I'll tell her that. Thank you. Sorry. Also responding to text messages. All right. So it says on the night. Do you remember like what it was though? K-Braze just wants to know what type it was. On the night of November 1st, 2022 at 2204, help 2204. You know who you are that I'm asking for help. What's 2204? You guys know I suck at military time and stuff. That be 10? 1004? Did that on my own. Oh, now I see all you guys. At 10:04 p.m., the Prentiss County Sheriff's Department were dispatched to Prentiss County 911 to house blank, County Road blank. Dispatcher advised the caller she heard shots fired at her daughter's house. Caller went to check it out and had got into it with a male subject. Caller advised that the male was currently outside the residence and the females were inside the residence. So this is one part of this that is a little different. Is some people claim that it was Cory that was shooting it. But if you guys remember to what I had said previously, he had no GSW on him and there was no evidence that he shot a gun that night. So I'll leave you guys to think of that as you may. Let's see. At 22:14, Prentiss County 911 gave update that that had history of suicidal threats, firearms at the location, and made threats about killing people at the location in the past incidents that deputies have responded to. Now, I will say, Taurus Millennium G2 9mm. Okay, Brace, you put it in there if you still know. So once again, though, guys, this is, although this is the investigators, this is what she's hearing from the individuals on scene, not something she knows for a fact herself. So I'll just say it like that. Made contact with blank and blank, blank, blank. Told the deputy that she had heard gunshots being fired at this, and her daughter blank lives at this residence. She could hear screaming. She witnessed someone hitting someone. Was on top of someone and grabbed someone. Now remember, guys, all the other individuals in this, Cory's the only one that ended up having any type of wound, and his was fatal. No one else even looked to have a scratch on them. So, but apparently he's over here hitting and grabbing and on top of people and screaming, and everything. So, it says blank had someone's cell phone, which he then broke over his knee. And then we're not going to get into anything with the minor. But it says that the minor was at the residence, wanted to get the child out of the situation, took the child to a different residence. And then got hit with a baseball bat, supposedly in the back. Tried to get the bat from them. They were pushed out of the door, locked outside. Now, I tell you guys this, that there's video of Cory being outside of the residence. And I swear I thought the video was paused because he literally just sat there and was like, just not doing anything. He was just sitting on the step staring. Here we go. Vicky says, no one other than the individuals in the statement have history of any threats to kill anyone at that location. This is also disputed on body cam when it is stated, no, he did not say that tonight. Yeah. My last question is, they say that he stumbled into the yard and someone came up and tried them again. Why would you go towards a threat if that's what you call it? So we are going to get into that, K-Braze, as well, because there are a lot of questions regarding stand your ground laws and stuff in Mississippi, northern Mississippi to be specific. The wonderful, beautiful LFT actually made an entire PDF for me and highlighted important aspects of it, of all of the aspects of it. So we will go over that here in a second. Let's just see here. Let's see. Where were we? Deputy Cameron spoke to Blank, stated that the gun fell out of Cory's hip during the altercation. We do know for a fact that that is false. I can't exactly go into the details of how we know that, but we do. That is one thing I can say for certain. Also found a cigar pack which contained marijuana inside of it that someone dropped during the altercation. Once again, this is specifically just one point of view. And I will say that this does not match up with the video evidence. PM. Red eye. PM. The weapon in the woods across the street, Blank threw in the cigar pack, was collected for evidence. Said cameras around the residence, they should have footage of everything. Told the deputies they needed to find Blank because if he came back to the residence, he would handle himself. So this is one of the individuals on the scene saying literally to police, you guys have to find him because if he comes back here and you're not here, I'm handling it myself. This person then goes on to kill Cory. So take that as you may. Those are all facts. So I hope not. Nor his grandma. Deputies explained that they would be in the area and attempt to make contact with so-and-so. Yeah, repeatedly. Exactly. That individual made that comment more than 3 times. Yeah. Yeah. You can read. There you go, what Vicky said there. Hey, Princess Megan Elsa. Correct, Diane. I agree with you. 100%. All right. So it says here then, they said that they would attempt to make contact with Cory. Deputies went back on patrol at 12:51. Or 22:51, which is 10:51. Sorry. At 23:15, Prentiss County 911 advised that deputies needed to return to the residence. It was reported to 911 that Cory was shot. They told 911 that he had shot 3 to 4 times to center mass, and then he said he was not sure if he was breathing and that he was not going to check. He said that Cory was hitting his daughter, and so he shot him. We can see in the footage, which I can't show you guys because we are on YouTube, but in the footage, he is not hitting her. Simple as that. So there's that. It says When Deputy Cameron arrived back at the residence, he made contact with Blank, walked towards Deputy with hands in the air, and he said he had his gun in his right coat pocket and that he will do whatever he needed to do. The deputy removed the gun from the right coat pocket and it was placed on the back of his patrol unit. Was patted down for other weapons. The firearm was placed in the patrol unit. Blank's cell phone was also placed in the front of the unit. Firearms taken off Blank at this time was a Taurus G2 pistol. Deputy Cameron asked Blank where Cory was and if he was still breathing. And this individual told the deputy that Cory was near the side of the trailer and that he did not know if he was breathing. Blank was placed in the back of the patrol unit. So then Deputy Josh Brumley arrives. 2 deputies discovered Blank on the ground in the driveway on his stomach. So once again, you guys, he's found by police on his stomach. Did the number of bullets that were discharged match how many times he was actually shot? I believe so. I don't know. There's been a little bit of a back and forth regarding the number of shots, even though it's in the autopsy report. But yeah. Let's see. So it says rolled him over onto his back and Cory was unresponsive with no pulse. Several gunshots to the body of Cory were viewed. The shots were to the front and back of his body. Is unknown at this time on entry and exit wounds. Like I said, we do have the wound layout here that I will show you guys here in a second. Let's see. It appears the door. Oh, where were we? I skipped something. An empty black nylon gun holster was found inside the boot of Blank's left leg. A black hard body gun holster, arrow tip, and unopened pack of Marlboro red cigarettes were found in the upper jean pockets. There were obvious damage to the back door of the residence. It appeared the door had been hit more than one time. Do these people not have spell check? I'm just curious. This is not the first time that something has not been spelled right. And it's driving me nuts. There were several gun casings found in the backyard, on and around the wood porch. Leaning against the back of the couch was a white and green and black baseball bat. In the living room floor, close to the front door, was blood on the floor. That blood was not tested. On the blue wall to the right of the front door was also blood, not tested. Just throwing that out there. All evidence was collected by investigators. The coroner, David Horn, once again, not the coroner, assistant coroner, took possession of the body. And then once again, this is kind of from the same conversation that I had with you guys prior, was the individuals going to the hospital. I just can't when it's official documents. You know? All right, so I'm going to bring up now. Stop sharing. I am going to be bringing up the wound diagram. All right. This is from the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office. It is a wound diagram. You guys will see it has his name on it. And I actually have the version that the lovely Miss Tia Dash from the Decipher podcast highlighted. So she highlighted, and you guys will be able to see that the yellow on this diagram are entrance wounds and the pink are exit wounds. All right. So let me bring this up so you guys can see it. I've also had to scribble out any private parts just because I don't need YouTube getting mad at me. So, all right. So Vicky, also one to the left hip. Yep. Also the one to his finger too, Vicky. So I'm going to kind of zoom in a little. So we have the side here. And if you guys remember, I said yellow is entrance, pink is exit. So we have entrance right on the left-hand chest. And then 2 exits, 1, 2, or 3 exits. 1 out of the neck, 2 out of the mid-chest, and 1 out of the hip. We then get to the front of his body here. Once again, guys. Right, K-Brace. Yep. Thank you, Tia. Thank you for highlighting this. We then have the front of his body here where we have an entrance wound to the chest, 2 exit wounds in the chest as well. We are going to scoot over a little. We have entrance wounds. This is his back. So you guys are seeing all of these entrance wounds in his back. There are 3 exit wounds. And then we have the final side one here. It's just an entrance wound. Vicky says, the abrasions of what I feel was a grazing shot was located by the exit listed on the left side of the neck. Yeah. So you guys can now see here, based on literally the medical examiner's office, the amount of, there are technically two shots to the front of his body. Or 1 shot. 1, 2, well, 1 shot. So 1 here. That's the side of his body. 1, 2. And then possibly this one could be considered that, I guess. But the rest of the shots, the yellow ones here, the entrance wounds, are on his back. No, I'm just saying, like, the time frame of when he supposedly is beating them all up, there's literally footage of him just sitting there and chilling. The 2 things weren't correlated, sorry. They claimed that he was, yeah, Nora's grandma, and I think that's the whole point of this. So, I'm going to leave this up here for just a second, just in case anyone is really looking into this. I think there is definitely a question, Nora's grandma, when it comes to who is friends with who has known who has a previous run-in with Cory, and different things like that. But I will say now that Cory's case did end up going to a grand jury. The grand jury decided not to press charges on the individual and ruled it self-defense. Okay? So, according to what was said, the grand jury supposedly saw, I don't know how much of the video they saw, but they saw part of it where it claims that Cory took the 2 steps towards the individual who shot him. No. And we're looking for them to look into it. So if you have any connections, please reach out to me or Vicky, please. Oh, really, Amy? Amy, email me. I would love to speak with you. I haven't seen them. I've just heard from third-party sources. But either way, they claim that because he had taken 2 steps towards him, it was self-defense. That's really the gist of it. That was kind of what was said. And Amy, I am really, really sorry for your loss as well. But that is kind of where the situation is Cory's case has gone to a grand jury. The individual who did this did not face any charges for this. The grand jury did not find it. So here's what Vicky said. Grand jury supposedly saw the video. Per the DA, he stated to me, they felt he was advancing the entire time and it was self-defense. As stated to them, how can you be advancing if you're shot in the back? Exactly. And I think this is one aspect which, because technically, legally, everyone in this case is innocent until proven guilty. I'm bringing this to you guys because I think there's enough red flags here to have the conversation of not only getting Cory's story out there. If anyone knows anyone that can help Vicky and this case to get looked at from a higher legal system or anything, please reach out. We are going through a lot of different avenues right now, but getting his story out there, I think, is the number one aspect of this right now. Was he allowed in the house? What if he was trying to go inside? So K-Braze, you have to remember, he was picked up by the homeowner, or like by whose home it was, and brought there. And that this all happened about an hour after he actually got there. So there's a lot of questionings in that regard. Absolutely. Yes. And Sherry is Cory's aunt, so absolutely. Now what was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Oh, so then it brings to the question of, when is self-defense no longer self-defense? Because based on my thoughts, based on Cory's family's thoughts, yeah. There's my email right there for anyone needing to reach out as well. Oh, shoot. I was supposed to do my Linktree thing, too. I made a Linktree. But we're going to kind of go over what LFT put together, which is going over the self-defense laws in Mississippi. Now, I know technical talk can get a little mind-numbing, but I think the parts that she highlighted are important, especially just for this case in general. So I'm going to share the screen. Oh. No, not at this time. No, Metamom. They had already, their divorce was finalized the day before this happened. Oh, it's right there. I'm crazy. Oh, there we go. I tried to include non-technical talk as well. Thank you. And the thing is too, guys, is like the grand jury just didn't charge anything. There's many options of what could have been charged in this, and nothing was charged. Not assault, nothing. Even though they literally, hit Cory with a baseball bat at one point. So there's a lot to it. So this here it's only 4 pages. I'm just going to kind of go through what LFT has highlighted. She's highlighted the most interesting facts of this, I suppose. But we'll go through this. So this is the Mississippi Code on self-defense. So this is the state that this occurred in. And I'm going to ask you guys, after I'm done reading this, 2 different questions. The first question will be, based on what I'm reading to you right now, do you guys believe that them ruling self-defense goes with this Mississippi Code? And then the second question will be, do you think this was self-defense based on everything that I have told you guys tonight? Not necessarily. I believe, according to Vicky Metamom, it was, she had texted him earlier in the day saying he had left something there. But yeah, K-Braze, that's a good point. All right, so it says here, when committed by any person in resisting attempt unlawfully to kill such person or to commit any felony upon him or upon in any dwelling, if an occupied vehicle, in any place of business, in any place of employment, or in the immediate premises thereof. So these are just the different codes. So this is the killing of a human being by the act, procurement, or omission of another shall be justifiable in the following cases. Another thing, when committed in the lawful defense of one's own person or any other human being where there shall be reasonable ground to apprehend to design to commit a felony or to do great personal injury, and there shall be imminent danger of such design being accomplished. Now, I've had this conversation with Vicky. I've had this conversation with a handful of other people. But I don't think necessarily the issue we are having here, I mean, there is a lot more information that I can't necessarily divulge to you guys at this point in time. But that if Cory did potentially take these steps towards this individual, that those first few shots could have potentially been self-defense. Now, knowing Cory, a lot of the people that know him say he wouldn't hurt a fly, but I think that possibility is there. It was the shooter's property that his ex lived on because it was her parents' property. And I've said this to Vicky. I've said, like, the issue that I'm having with this that I don't understand is in this time frame of the first few shots being taken, you see, correct, and that is exactly what I'm getting at, Vicky. As I told Sheriff Toller, Vicky says, the situation changed when Cory turned, had his back to the shooter, who kept walking behind him, firing into his back. And that is exactly why, in the title of this video, I have, when is self-defense no longer self-defense? Yeah. At what point in time, because at some point, Cory falls to the ground and breaks his nose due to the force of him falling to the ground. Pepper, yes, but the camera that caught it is a little bit further away and it is dark out. So, like, in the video, if you're just, like, watching it and not actually, like, analyzing it, you can see, yeah. Yeah, oh well. Okay. Vicky, did you read Spilled Paint DIY's last message? I would write that down. And Vicky says, please note, I do not feel anyone was fearful. Yeah. And that's Vicky's opinion and our opinions. But yes. This one, Vicky, is the one I was talking about. And she also says send it certified mail. Does that have to be sent certified mail if you potentially could just drop it off? Avery, do you know that? So let me finish reading through this for a second. Let's see what else. Felon should include anyone who's been convicted. So that's the other thing here, guys, is all of the self-defense. The self-defense really only works if you're stopping someone from harming someone or stopping them from committing a felony. But him potentially committing a felony is all only on the word of the individuals who are present, if that makes sense. Okay. See, that's the thing, Metamom, is their divorce was finalized. And it was not, they fought for custody. They fought about money, everything. It was not something, it was more of like, I don't know necessarily if they'd cut all ties, but it wasn't something where they were chill, if that makes sense. At least publicly. So, yeah, Pepper. And then she says, a person who uses defensive force shall be presumed to have reasonably feared imminent death or great bodily harm. Now, remember, you guys, Cory was unarmed. So, or the commission of a felony upon him or another, or upon his dwelling, or against a vehicle which he has occupying, or against his business or place of employment or the immediate premises. Presumption shall not apply if the person against whom defense force was used has a right to be in or is lawful resident or owner of the dwelling, vehicle, business, place of employment, or the immediate premises thereof. So this is another aspect of this that I find very interesting, because Cory was brought there by the individuals, the resident. So if you're literally picked up, driven, and then dropped off there by the resident, at what point then is it like, well, sorry, they were never supposed to be there? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It says here, a defendant who has previously been adjudicated not guilty of any crime by reason of subsection 1E or F, this section shall be immune from any civil action for damages arising from the same conduct. So here we have the Castle Doctrine versus Stand Your Ground. So if you guys can see these, it says Castle Doctrine allows you to protect yourself using force, deadly force, if you're in imminent fear of death or reasonable body injury, which I think even just from seeing oh, right, Pepper, exactly. He was obviously uninvited if they picked him up and brought him there. I'm just going to put that up there. You guys can read that. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I concur. Thank you, Karen. Vicky says, not only that, remember, despite an individual stating that he was not supposed to be there, the ex-wife picked him up, and not just that night, but also the night before. Correct. It says here, it says it creates a presumption that the perpetrator is there illegally and that you can defend yourself, your home, your business, your occupied vehicle, and some other places that are mentioned in the statute. That's the Castle Doctrine. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Stand your ground allows you to protect yourself in the same means, but in a public space. The defendant cannot be the aggressor and cannot be participating in any illegal activities while the confrontation takes place. I'm gonna leave that last sentence there. I can't say anything about that last sentence, but I will just leave that there. So it says, per the DA for the 16th Judicial District of Mississippi, you can't kill someone on your property or in your home if they have retreated. So if that is all part of the Mississippi law of the Stand Your Ground, the Castle Doctrine, all of those self-defense laws in Mississippi, how is it possible that this is self-defense if Cory is shot 7 times in the back? Please, it is something that I do not understand. He's not trying to enter the property during this time. When felons are using firearms in an attempt to protect the property, once again, not having to protect anything. Yeah. Well, and there's a lot more to that too, Pepper. There's a lot more to that. That's all I'll say to that. Yep, exactly. And I think that's the biggest question with this case is how does, I can see, and I've said this to Vicky, I've said this to anyone that I've talked to about this, but how I can see the Stand Your Ground, the Castle Doctrine, the self-defense being on the first 2 shots. My issue is the 7 shots once he is on the ground, how that is still considered self-defense when you no longer have a threat on your life, on your property, for great bodily harm, none of that. Right. I would agree. And one thing that it does bring me back to is when studying a lot of these cases, so not necessarily Cory's, this is just in general, there have been a handful of cases that I've looked into where individuals have been charged with a premeditated crime, even in a blink of an eye. So there are some places where that if you are being attacked and you use deadly force and you hit someone, that person is no longer a threat to you and you continue to hit them, the additional hits are considered premeditated because you've had the option of stopping and didn't. That has been charged. I'd have to find the exact case and case law for that. But premeditation can be changed in a second just based upon if there's the ability to stop and if the threat is neutralized. And so it's something that I very much... No. Pepper. No. So, okay. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So I'm going to do a poll. Does this case follow the Mississippi doctrines? So hang on. Yes or no? All right. So I'm starting the poll. If you guys in the chat here want to go put your question or your answer in, yes or no. This first question that I'm asking is whether or not you guys believe that based on what I just read you in this Mississippi self-defense statutes and the difference of stand your ground, if that is flows with Cory's case based on the fact that just everything that I've told you so far. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of time here. And then I'm going to do one more poll. And K-Braze, yeah. So there have been a handful of other cases in Mississippi that have either been charged as self-defense or not as self-defense that are not... that don't sync with Cory's outcome of things in his case. So I was looking into it before the live. But I didn't want to just bring something else up here and just like say it without having the information to back it up. So, yeah, if that makes sense. So like K-Braze, if you, cause I think you have my email, K-Braze. I can send you some of the ones because I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Correct, K-Braze. All right. So it seems like... Now, remember, you guys, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Just throwing that out there ahead of time. All right. So I'm going to... We only have 25 votes in. There's 73 people watching. Make sure to get your votes in. I'm going to give it like 30 seconds. All right. So, Pepper, the one thing I will say about that in specific is the individual who did that was arrested for the attack, but will not talk about the attack, if that makes sense. All right. All right, I'm going to end the poll. So it's going to end here with 11% of you said yes, which I will say is more than I expected, but it's fine. Like, that's totally fine. And 88% said no, it does not. Yeah, exactly. The substance put in his truck. We love Pepper, Sherry. We love her. That's okay, Meta Mom. I'm going to do another one right now because now I just want your guys' personal opinions. So just based on literally everything from start to finish that I've told you guys today, was Cory Lambert killed in self-defense or murder. Okay, hang on. I'm typing it all in. Now, once again, guys, this is just your opinion. Sorry, Tomboy Charm. So I just put the new poll out. Please, this is your own personal opinions. This is not based on law. This is not based on anything other than your personal opinions based on everything that I have told you. Damn. Make sure everyone gets their votes in. I do find it interesting, though, because so as of right now, there's 26 votes and 27 votes, and it is officially 100% murder still. Right. Vicky, and I think that's an important aspect, too. If individuals had injuries other than Cory Lambert, indicative of him making them fearful. Correct. I'm going to wait for a few more votes. He would never have needed a ride if his truck was running, and he might not have been there that time if his truck was running. He could have left. Correct. K-Brace, correct. Well, and we're hoping that that just may be some type of communication error and that us being told that is not accurate, Pepper. But we are looking into it. So I think I'm going to continue to let that poll stay up. I'm going to stop sharing this. All right. So we are now at the end. I am one thing I am going to do quick is put up my last slide on here. We have a beautiful picture of Cory and his mom, Vicky. As well as Vicky's information. So if any of you guys have information, have any contacts to help Vicky in this case, you guys can reach out to me. You can reach out to Vicky. There is the Facebook group, which I will grab here in a second and drop it in chat. Oh, you read my mind. I'm going to have Vicky come up here. So please, you guys, be very kind. Be very, what's the word? Just be very vigilant that this is Cory's mother coming up here to speak with us. She's going to answer some of your guys' questions in chat if you guys do have any specifically for Vicky. Otherwise, she's just going to come up and say hi and make any corrections if I said anything wrong. So Vicky, I'm going to bring you up. Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? How'd that go? How'd you think?
I loved it.
Okay. I'm glad. Is there anything that you want to correct or anything?
No, just that, the castle doctrine and the stand your ground law. I mean, again, if there were anything that indicated he had done anything that made them fearful, but
Right.
even the officers on body cam said they did not see any injuries.
Right.
None at all. And it is known on video that despite being fearful of this man, they're all outside walking around where he's at. And that's not indicating someone who is afraid.
Correct. I would agree with that.
But any help is appreciated. Any at all.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or want Vicky to clarify anything? While we're here, you may want to mute your YouTube in the background just so you don't hear yourself.
Okay. I'm going to say how to do that. There it is.
There you go. Because you'll still be able to hear me here through.
Okay, good. Well, I wondered why I was having such a lag time. There we go. I am not
Okay.
tech savvy.
All right. Let's pull up some of these. Yes, you guys, please leave your thoughts and everything for Vicky in in chat, please. So we have K-Braze says, thanks to all the family and friends with us tonight. Sorry for your loss.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. We have a great community here. Everyone is really good at rallying to help those who need help. And that's one thing about my channel here is that I try to focus directly on the victims and not necessarily the situation that made them a victim. Which is why we spend a lot of time at the beginning here introducing Cory.
Right.
Because it allows people to get to know him. And Pepper says, hi, Vicky, great pic of you and your son.
Oh, thank you. That's one of our favorite. It was in Colorado when he was working.
Let's see. Has he and the dad ever got into it before?
No.
No.
Until the divorce. He had tried to get a couple of the boys junior rifles or something like that back, and they couldn't be found. But really, they talked actually more than once, and actually Cory was the one who helped install all the video cameras for him. He
Right.
installed most of the Wi-Fi around that community for people. That's just what he loved to do. But
Right.
no, as far as actually having gotten into it, no.
Oh, one thing I did not bring up, but that I just remembered, and I think is really important just to go towards who Cory was as a person, is the shooting at his work. Do you want to kind of go through that?
Yes, you're talking about the one in Houston, Texas. Cory
Yep.
and his coworker
Yep.
were on a job one night. They were in a rough part of Houston, Texas. Cory was, like I said, he did have a strong faith in God, and he did have, as I called it, always a sixth sense. And that night, he and his partner went to work. They were working nights because they couldn't have downtime for the people's fiber during the day. And when they were getting out of their truck, they noticed a car had pulled to the corner, and Cory just normally carries, like I said, he had a concealed carry permit.
Yep.
And he got out of the truck, and something told him to go back into the truck and get his gun. And he got it and he put it in his work bag. And he was going up in the bucket to work on the fiber, and his partner was going to be down at the truck on the ground. And when he started up, he got almost to the top of the pole and he heard the car door shut, and he instantly just started to come back down because he saw the two guys getting out of the car at the corner. And when he got almost to the ground, one of them ran and knocked his partner out cold and was trying to get his billfold and everything away from him. And the other guy drew his gun because Cory pulled his gun on him and said, wait or whatever. And the guy fired his weapon, and Cory fired back. And when the guy was running, he managed to get off two shots, one in the leg and one in the stomach. Of course, self-defense, because they were basically in the process of robbing them and probably would have killed them.
Right.
The guy that he shot was actually 17 years old. No, he was 18 years old. He had been in this gang that was actually the ones he was with that night that attacked him. He'd been in that gang since he was 13 years old. So he did live. The guy, he did not die from his injuries, but you know, the point being, Cory, he told me that night, he said, it happened actually on my birthday, August the 15th.
Yeah.
And he called me from the back of the patrol car and said, not the way I wanted to wish you happy birthday, but, he said, I always wondered after taking, ballistics courses and any kind of training courses that he could, if I would ever actually be able to pull a gun and actually shoot someone. He said, and when you have that gun pointed at you and it's either I'm fixing to die and they fire at you the first time, he said, never thought about it again. I just pulled the trigger.
Yep. But you said
But
that was something that really upset him. That
yes,
he had
he
to do
really
it. He
upset
knew
him.
he did, but
He knew he did, but
yep.
he had some PTSD after that.
Yeah.
And like I said, he fired twice, but he shot him in the leg. And again that night, you know, there was definite intent to murder. There were ways, even it's like I told Sheriff Randy Toller, you know, I should have, if you had stayed, if anything that had happened as they alleged had taken place, I should have a son in your jail
Yeah.
with multiple gunshots and extremities, dog bite wounds, you know, because no telling what felony charges if any of that had been true. But instead, I have a son who's dead on a cold steel slab in a morgue.
Right.
And he should not have been there, you know. Um, Nothing, like I said, they had no physical injuries. You know, people were literally the next day. One actually stopped in the street when they saw her coming in her car out the drive-through of the bank, and literally stopped in front of her in the street looking because, you know, everybody had heard, well, he beat the hell out of them. And here's this,
Right.
you know, a person who has not even a single mark on them, and yet you've got someone that has been shot at that time. Paul Kenny was saying he only shot him 3 to 4 times, and it was actually 11. In
Right.
his statement, he even said, I didn't shoot him in the back. I'd never shoot anybody in the back. Well, at least I don't think I did. You know, he was, you know, possibly that intoxicated, allegedly.
Right. And like she said, we say everything is allegedly in our opinions, but yes, that is kind of the situation of everything. But that was a story that when you told it to me, I was like, what are the odds of that happening? But then
Right.
you also get the ability to see who he actually was as a person. So I think that was great. Let's see. So Nora's grandma says, "Thank you so much, Vicky, for sharing your story with us again. I'm so sorry for your loss. This is a complete lack of competence by everyone involved."
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
You know,
Um,
they basically, Prentice County, you know, my son, I'm not going to at all tell you that he was, you know, without sin, none of us are, but he had a past. I mean, you know, he had a possession of, I think, a what do you call it, a bud or whatever they call it, wasn't even a whole marijuana cigarette years ago
yep.
when he was like 25. Speeding tickets. He had a littering charge when he was literally getting a speeding ticket, and he didn't think and thumped a cigarette out the cigarette butt out the window, and the cop nailed him for littering.
Ugh.
Um, but with that said, you know, in July 2021, my son is the one with the bite marks, the scratches, the baseball bat
Mhm.
marks to the back, and he totes everything. He literally protected her, I
Yeah.
guess, and went down, and she had no marks on her. But they
Nope.
got. She said that he beat her up then and had assaulted her.
Which,
Not a
and
mark
I've
on.
seen those. Yeah, you've shared those photos with me of his body after he attacked her. Um,
Supposedly, yeah.
and there is visible bite marks, bruising, everything. So it
Yeah.
is very interesting the history here. And like I said, we have only shared like a tidbit of this over the last 2.5 hours that we've been telling you Cory's story. Um, but like there is a lot more to it. It's just to ensure that we don't step over any bounds that we can't go back on for the future of Cory's justice. We're making sure to stay very, what's the word, like politically correct.
There you go. And also anyone that has, you know, if anybody could share it, because there's
Yeah.
someone who knows information, especially about the April 2022 attack, that
Yep.
happened in another county. It happened in Etowah County. There
Yep.
are actually still two open investigations. The one that happened with the fuel tank is a
Yep.
felony charge if we find out who is actually behind it. And then the one in April. And like
Yep.
I said, somebody knows something about them. Somebody hired those people, or, you know, talked to those people.
Yep.
Somebody helped to arrange that.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of information. And I think the thing is here too is that even based on what we've seen so far that I haven't been able to show you regarding text messages and Snapchat messages and all these different things, people have talked throughout this timeline. And we just need the right person to do the right thing and bring what they know forward to be able to get the justice for Cory. Let's see. Tomboy Charm, that's a good question. We can't answer it, but that's a good question.
which one was
Uh,
that?
Tomboy Charm says, I thought stand your ground law didn't apply if you are or were intoxicated. We can't answer that question for potential legal reasons. So let's see. You can
Yes.
read from that what you may. Let's see there.
Can I answer that one about that he asked about the breathalyzer?
Yeah, go right ahead.
The infamous Prentice County Sheriff's Department waited almost 3.5 hours after my son's murder and went and obtained a breathalyzer on the alleged person who shot the gun and accepted responsibility that night. And 3.5 hours after my son's murder, he still registered 0.113. So, how intoxicated was he at the time of my son's murder? And as the sheriff stated, we failed to do so. And that's not all they failed to do.
Yeah.
And also, I think it should be known too exactly how Prentice County, I was even told by Sheriff Randy Toller that my son's death was his own fault because, quote unquote, he should never have gotten into her car.
Right. The car that she picked him up and drove him over to her house. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he was responsible for his own death because he should never, no blame it on her whatsoever of the fact that it happened. Nothing.
Correct. He had other injuries besides the gunshots. That seems weird if it's self-defense. Yeah.
Yes, he had the broken nose, which I don't think happened when the fall because a dead body will a dead body will not bruise and a dead body will not turn red. And I believe when Cory went down because of the shots to the chest went through the heart and both lungs. Sorry, folks. But with that said, when you have that happen, all blood flow ceases. So you have a definitive bruising and redness across the nose and a curvature. So you know the nose is fractured, but there's also a reddened area to the forehead that even in the autopsy report, the pathologist states he does not know the cause for that, possibly quote unquote that baseball bat. But he did not know that there had been a baseball bat used that night. But he did have other injuries aside from that.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be here in just a minute.
Let's see. Yes, Sherry says, please share. We need justice. Love you, Vicky.
Yes, as Jeff said, yeah, they did not even separate the individuals. They did not even attempt to get any statements from the individuals until, like I said, it was at least 12, if not one, I think was 16 hours after the murder.
At
they
their
did not
convenience.
remove, yes, they did not remove the individuals from the premises of the home next door, which, as you said, is, I mean, you could throw a stone and hit the, from wall to wall. And quote unquote, from what Sheriff Randy Toller texted me, said, we're conducting an investigation that's leading to pertinent findings and information pertinent to this case. And you were conducting that investigation at 2:47 p.m. after my son's murder. You did not leave any police officers present. You did not leave anyone to secure the scene. I'm not sure what they claim because he said, we will let you know what the findings are when we finish. I never got any of that information. But anything that they would have found is absolutely not admissible because you didn't, control the crime scene.
Right.
It was not secured.
Correct. So Pepper asks a question that we have to be very careful with answering. But she says, connections and personal relationships can really change a case in a small county. Did you say her family has connections to law enforcement?
Allegedly, yes.
Okay. We'll leave the answer at that. All right, let's get our last few questions in here, guys. Can we also get some, let's see, here we go. Justice for Cory. Hashtags in the chat, please. What was your question? Sorry, Rainbow Mom. This may be a stupid question, but can someone not be tried twice for the same murder? So he was technically, because
He was never
I've
charged.
had this, he was never
Yeah.
charged.
He
So it
was
could
never charged.
potentially,
He was released within, it was less than 48 hours. They can
yep,
hold, I believe it's 48 or 72 hours just for questioning or investigation. And my understanding, when they released him, they said that there was not enough evidence to charge him with anything, but they were
yep,
going to bound it over for the grand jury to hear the information when they got the ballistics, etc., back. And therefore, he never had any charges pressed on him. The grand jury was to decide if there was evidence in order to charge him. And per the grand jury, according to the DA, they felt there was nothing there but self-defense.
yeah. And
So
so
he never has had charges. It's not
yes,
a double jeopardy. It's not a second, charge for anything. He was never charged, period. He's never faced
correct.
assault, nothing. He never got these things, not even you know,
Slap on the wrist, really.
nothing. He got nothing.
So, because that was Jennifer, that was not a stupid question at all. I
No,
actually,
no.
I think I asked you this just the other day. Because I was confused too when looking into it. And the thing is too, though, even technically, there's the opportunity as well for higher courts to also intervene. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Nora's grandma says, does he have a criminal record of violence?
Cory Lambert or
Yeah. Oh, wait. Are you asking about Cory or are you asking about the alleged shooter? Because technically, I think Cory does, but based on the actual proof,
everything was
he just
dropped.
kind of took the fall as well, though.
Yeah,
Correct?
the case in July 2021 when they were separating,
Yes.
she alleged that he had beat her up. I don't know what else she had trashed the house, but he took the rap instead of her going to jail. And the
Mhm.
subsequent to that, all charges were dropped because she went in and she said basically that she didn't want to press charges, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
because it never happened.
And there was actually evidence to the contrary also. So, okay, so wait, let me see. Robin says she loves you.
Love you, Robin.
And
You look younger
LFT
every day, by the way. I'm so jealous.
oh. LFT says, do we need new evidence to reconvene a grand jury?
I can only say that we have that.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure legally. If anyone
Yeah,
else does,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to find this. I have reached out and I have actually got connection with the person who can try to come back in. I was told there had to be new evidence. Jeff Barnes has been phenomenal,
Yep.
and we pretty much think we have that and have given that.
Yep.
But also the fact that, as I told one of them, how can you allow anyone in the state of Mississippi, let alone any state, but in Mississippi, be shot 11 times who was unarmed, 7 shots in the back, and let somebody walk with self-defense?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Pepper said, what does the shooter do for a living? Just curious, very generally, hypothetically, even.
Very
That would,
generally, hypothetically, maybe he might possibly be some type of engineer.
okay. um, Bobby Roberts says, love you, Miss Vicky. Did they ever divulge the grand jury count to you?
No, love you,
Okay.
Miss Bobby. They did not. When I asked the DA for the poll count of the jurors, and the meeting he called that day was specifically because I'd pestered the horns off of him. He, knowing we were meeting for this case, he could not give me the poll count. He said, quote unquote, I don't have that information in front of me. Um, and when I went on and asked him, as far as, how can anyone find that, there are 7 gunshot wounds in the back, how can you even consider that he is advancing on anyone? That shot in the back, the man, he is actually going after my son, shooting him. And he just looked at me, really couldn't say anything. And I even reminded him that in Prentiss County alone, there are continued multiple murders that either they got off with self defense or they've done absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And he
So
just looked at
there's,
me.
yeah, I think there's a lot of, as you guys can tell from me telling you guys everything to Vicky, I think that there's a lot of loose ends. I think that there's a lot of potential to look into. If anyone does have any further knowledge on anything that we spoke of tonight, if anyone knows any inside information, please feel free to reach out to Vicky, reach out to me, because I can always reach out to Vicky. And yes, Prentiss County.
Yes,
And
it's Prentiss County, specifically a small community, Marietta.
yes, yep. Does anyone else look at the supposed assault as a huge motive for murder for a father? Vicky, has anyone talked about that?
Well, according to what they stated, was that that's what he said, that Cory Lambert was hitting his daughter. And when he came around, and that's why he opened fire. And yet, from what we can see, that's not the case.
In the video, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then that's like, Tori Jumper, the investigator, told me when I picked up the evidence from the FOIA documents, and she informed me, oh, by the way, just to give you a heads up so it's not shock, that Cory choked a dog in the video. It was a dog fight. And she had tried to separate the dogs and could not. And that's when Cory got up and began helping her. And the dog is seen running around all night long in the video, wagging its tail. My son did not choke a dog, but that's how Prentiss County took the entire night. Everything, no matter, I believe if a fly had gotten squished under a shoe, Cory would have been responsible for its death.
Well, exactly. And I think that's the part of this too, is that there's a lot of this that has been not only fabricated, but even little things have just been exaggerated or changed to fit a certain narrative that may not be accurate. So, let's see. There's no video evidence of Cory harming anyone, if I understand correctly.
Correct.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that.
Actually, Pepper, there's actually video evidence of taunting and physical abuse against Cory Lambert that night multiple times. And not one time did Cory retaliate in any manner. He was kicked. He was hit. He had his hair pulled. He had his possessions thrown in the yard. She literally took his phone. He had no means to leave, took his picture. She used his phone to send messages to multiple people. And, so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to actually, now that you say that, I'm going to bring that up. Hang on. Where is it? Saved on the last picture of him is what I'm going to grab. Sorry. Major taunting went on. Cory never retaliated, right?
Pepper, there were allegedly 4 other individuals in all besides my son present.
Hang on, guys. I'm saved a lot of stuff here. Hang on. I may just resave it quick and go to
there was a lot of taunting going on, and like I said, he never retaliated. As for Pepper, again, as far as anything they ever had a problem, no. I mean, Cory actually had tried to get them to help him get her into possibly if she needed it, some type of help, and
Yep.
that didn't happen. I mean, they made the comment to several. It was allegedly stated that Cory, she would never have a life as long as he was alive. I don't think anyone ever understands. Just as this night, she went and got him. She went and got
Yeah.
him the prior night. In a message, it was stated that she had stayed with him 2 nights.
Yeah.
She even asked him on the day. There's a message where it was asked, "What am I to you?" And when he replied, "My ex-wife." It's.
There's a
I don't
potential of
think.
pissing her off. She did not
Well,
like that answer.
she didn't like that. I mean, it's like they all felt like Cory was the instigator of any continued relationship or any interaction they had. Far from the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, the phone evidence alone, I believe it was stated that that maybe had allegedly stated she had not tried to call him. I believe there was up to 16 calls from her
Yeah.
the afternoon prior to his death.
Right. Okay, let me just see. Grab any last questions. Rainbow Bomb. So we're trying to leave the minors out of it. But of the 3 boys, 2 were on the premises, not necessarily the immediate premises, but in the premises, and 1 was not.
Right.
But I think that's as much as we're gonna go into that, just because we're gonna try to leave the minors out of the situation. But like I said earlier, for those of you guys that were listening, Vicky now does have Cory's custody of the youngest boy, and then the middle one does come as well. So
They're here, as a matter of fact, now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you guys go.
Jennifer Kay, he was 39 at time of death.
Yep. Yep. Thank you, Anna. It's good to see you. I was just curious if any of the other people who were involved in the attack. He was the only one that used the deadly force, allegedly. So, the beforehand and what led up to everything is in another question. Let's see.
At Nora's grandma, no, he had a concealed carry permit, had one for years, had taken a lot of tactical courses. The weapons, supposedly, we never saw them in Cory's hands.
Yeah.
Allegedly, per the police report, 2 weapons were thrown by individuals present out in the front yard where this man you're so fearful of prior to his murder. Yeah, they were thrown out in the front yard loaded.
The ones that
Which
supposedly fell off of his
yeah,
person during the attacks
yeah,
against the other
and
individuals. So
yes, and we have no idea. The other one just kind of managed. He just, laid it down. This is a man he took gun safety extremely seriously, but supposedly this gun, the other one, just was found, and it was chunked out the front door.
yeah,
The same front door that supposedly they had just pushed him out of.
yeah. Pepper says, "Sorry, I have so many questions. I'm guessing you've spoke with attorneys."
I have spoken to attorneys, yes, ma'am.
But obviously, anyone that does have any type of actual legal, not just I think this, but if you are a lawyer, know a lawyer, especially in the area, feel free to reach out. I'm willing to get any help that we can get at this point.
Yes, because it's hard to get anyone to go up against the county like this. I mean, it's just, it's almost impossible.
Right.
We just want justice, basically, but you really can't find anyone to help you push those buttons or tell you which direction to go in.
Correct. Yep. Let's see. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you,
great.
Avery. I'll forward those on to her right after we're off here.
Yes, thank you.
I don't care if you guys cuss. Go ahead. I think the only thing that you can't say is the F word on here. But I don't care if you cuss in chat. right ahead. A lot of people are feeling the urge to cuss.
But yes, yes.
This is complete and utter bullshit. What happened to your son? My heart breaks for her. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm doing a last call for questions and comments before we end it out here. We're going on almost 3 hours. Vicki, is there
Okay.
anything else that I can do for you here? I'm going to share out the YouTube, or not the YouTube,
I,
I'm going to, well, go ahead.
I cannot thank you all. Mallory, cannot thank you enough, period. Tia,
Yeah.
Elle, I cannot thank y'all enough for all the help. Everyone on here tonight, any buttons you push, any sharing that you do of this information is greatly appreciated. I do want to say that we're in the process of getting t-shirts, and we are actually going to plan to have a march on Prentice County. And we will invite all news bullet, any news, resources, any newspaper resources. It's not just for my son, but like I said, Prentice County, there are a lot of victims of unsolved crimes. And this is for anyone who's lost a child for senseless anything. Anyone is welcome to join.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And anything that I can share and pass along, not only to you guys, but just in general, you obviously know how to get a hold of me. I'm not going anywhere. I plan to hopefully ride through this with you from a distance, obviously, because I'm in Minnesota, not Mississippi. But yeah, I'm willing to help. I know TNLFT, anything you may need. If you guys do end up doing a more broad, t-shirt or something like that sell, please let me know, because I can put that link out. I'm sure there are a handful of viewers that would also.
Sure.
What?
No problem.
Yeah. So, thank you so much. Thank you for trusting me to tell Cory's story and talking with me and answering all my questions, all 100 millions of them.
I hope the next one that we plan to have hopefully will be when we've gotten someone to step in and actually take this case and take it out of Prentice County and hopefully get us in the right direction of getting justice.
Absolutely. So you guys, please send all your love. Let's get the hashtag Cory Lambert in chat, as well as anywhere else that you guys can share this video. There will be a little share button after the live is done here. So please post it to all your social media. And yeah, thank you again, Vicki, so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. I'm going to leave this picture up here. Vicki, you can stay here for a second. If you want to mute for a sec, you can. I'm just going to end out the live, but you can stay here and then we'll talk like we were previous when we're not live.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys share this out as much as you can. Stay kind, everyone. Know that everyone is going through their own shit every day. And you never know when your smile could change someone's day. So please stay kind, and I will see you guys with our next case, and I will keep you guys updated on Cory's case and everything going forward. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.